and welcome, sports fans, to another live edition of Play It Right TV. This is Kirito Henson along with Diane Castillejo. And
Hey,
tonight, for all you fans out there, throw in your questions, send in your comments because our live guests, we've got two. First off, we want to introduce him right now, is our national coach, TNT champion coach, Chot Reyes.
hey,
Hi, Kinito.
welcome,
Hello,
Chot.
Diane. Good
Nice
evening.
to see
Thanks
you
for having me
again.
again here.
Yeah,
Of
it's always a
course.
pleasure to see you. Now, we have another guest who's coming in shortly, and we won't give you his name, but although some of you might have already seen the announcements on social media, but we'll keep him under wraps. Hold on. I think I think
I
we've
think
got a
he's
message.
here.
He's here
He's
now.
here.
He's here now.
He's here.
Okay, let's have a big welcome for the 2008 PBA MVP, none other than Kelly Machine Gun Williams. Come on. Come on in. Hey,
Hello,
Kelly, nice to see you.
Hi,
Lito. Yeah.
Kelly.
Right.
Hey, Coach.
Hey, Cal.
How you guys
Okay.
doing?
Nice
Let's
to
get
meet
right down
you.
to it. Diane, we're so
Yeah.
excited. We promise you a show of about anywhere between 30, maybe 45 minutes max. But Diane, throw the first question.
Well, I wanted to ask Coach Chot, the last time we spoke to him, dito sa Play It Right, you were like saying, ang gulo, you were just putting together the team and now you're done. Of course, we know that you beat India, lost to New Zealand. And I can see, grabe, since the time you've been nonstop working at it, moving forward and moving ahead. So give us your quick thoughts on what transpired and update us on what are the things that you're planning for leading up to the next window, the SEA Games, and all the other tournaments that Gilas will be playing in.
Well, my first message to the players after the New Zealand game was a message of thanks. I thank them for their sacrifice on such short notice, especially the talk and text players
Right.
who, they played 4 games in 7 days and then turned around a couple of days later to practice for the national team. And then now we're getting ready to play another 4 games in the next seven, and another 3 games in the next 7 days. So that was my very first message, and then also to thank the other players of the team, the guys who flew in from Japan, the guys who took time off their other schedules to just put in the service for the team. So that was my first message to the players, to the team, and then my next message is to the fans, the ones who came to support. Thank you for being there. Thank you for cheering us on. It's a big thing for us. As to our performance, I think we were able to achieve what we set out to do. We said we wanted to put in a competitive team,
Mm-hmm.
and at least we were able to go there to compete. To be very honest, the result in New Zealand wasn't what we expected. However, the fact that we were able to, for me personally, get a chance to coach certain players for the first time. It was my first time to
Right.
coach Dwight, Ramos, Sergi Ravena, Ange Kwame, all those guys, even Robert Bolick, Juan de Liano, those guys. I think that was very important. And then guys like Kim Montalvo, first time to taste high level international competition as well. So I think those were definite steps towards our big picture, which is the FIBA World Cup next year. For the plans, we just had a meeting last night with Commissioner Marshall, synchronizing calendars and schedules. And there are still some things that have to go through the approval of the PBA board. So it's too early for us to announce anything because we do not want to preempt, obviously, the PBA. But we did not miss a beat. I mean, the very next day
Yeah.
we put on our planning hats and we were already looking forward.
I could
Coach
see
Chot,
that.
yeah. Coach Chot, first of all, you didn't ask for this job. Um, there was no coach available. Coach Tab Baldwin opting not to coach in this window. All of a sudden, there was a vacuum. There was no team. The Gilas cadets of before had opted to go to the PBA. So when this was offered to you, Coach Shot, did you have an option to refuse? And secondly, realizing the kind of players who would be available, was this not like a losing proposition?
Yes, certainly there was an option to refuse. It wasn't like anyone twisted my arm, but I've said this before, and you know me, Kinito, I'll never say no to the national team, right? There are just some things that you will never turn your back on, and for me, that's the only way I can serve my country. I knew I entered into this with my eyes wide open. I knew it would be a thankless job. I knew it was a no-win proposition, especially for this window. But somebody had to do it. I mean, the program was left in limbo essentially. There was no team when we assumed on February 1. There was no
Yeah.
team at all. We couldn't even put a practice together.
Right.
And for us to be able to come out and compete and play that way, I know there's a lot of people disappointed. I'm sure you know, you're aware of all the haters and bashers that I have every day on my social
Mm-hmm.
media. But they just don't realize the very first full practice we had, and Kelly is here to attest, was Feb, because our last game for Talk and Text, Kelly, was Feb 18. So we gave the
18.
Talk and Text players a day of rest. And then we practiced as a full team on Feb 20 to play our first game on Feb 25. So we had 4 days practice as a full team before the FIBA Asia, well, before that.
Wow.
So for us to be even be able to compete there, I mean, that in itself was really a huge feat. And unfortunately, a lot of people don't appreciate that. But like I said, I entered into this with my eyes wide open. I knew this was going to happen, so it doesn't really surprise me.
Let's shift our attention now to Kelly Williams. Kelly, 40 years old, still going at it, still going strong, winning a championship last time out, being recalled by Coach Shot to play for TNT again after sitting out a conference. What was it like wearing that national team uniform again? Kelly, I
I
think you
think
might
he
have
got,
frozen.
yeah, no,
Oh, yes.
please.
Yeah.
Oh,
Um, okay. I think Kelly's
yeah, we
probably
lost
going
him for
to
a while.
Just
re-enter.
maybe dial back in.
Yeah, but meanwhile, while he's trying to come back in, well,
Yeah, and there he is.
here he is now. You know, these are the problems of going live.
There you
Sometimes
go.
we run
There's
into
Kelly.
technical
Yeah.
difficulties. Okay, Kelly, did you hear my lavish introduction?
I heard 40 and
One-time
then I kind
PBA
of
MVP.
zoned out for a second.
Okay, I just wanted to ask, with your journey in basketball, one-time MVP, you've won 7 championships in the PBA. You've just come off a championship season with Coach Chot. He recalled you. Um, you were kind of like in limbo for a while, but setting aside the PBA journey, what was it like for you to wear that national team uniform again, Kelly?
Yeah, Kanito, I've been saying since my name was put in the pool, like wearing the jersey has been the highest honor in my whole playing career. And representing the country there's no bigger feat. There's nothing more you can ask for as a player for myself. And so, right in the first game against India, we were standing there in line singing the national anthem. And about midway through, I had to catch myself. I was getting really emotional to the point of
Wow.
almost tears, just because, yeah, from all the stints that I've had with national team, with coach, with all the times that I've played, it's always it's I've grown to understand the amount of weight, the amount of responsibility, the honor that comes with representing the country. So, like you said, to be 40, to have walked away from the game supposedly a year ago to now, not only becoming a PBA champion again, but to actually be asked to 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 carry the flag. It's been unbelievable for me.
Kelly,
It's
you're
so
an undersized
nice.
center. Yeah, so nice to hear those words from you. But I just wanted to put in this word, Diane, before you come on. Kelly, you're an undersized five guy. You were undersized big, and you went up against Rob Lowe of New Zealand, who's like 6'11", and then um, this guy
Amit Paul
Singh
Singh.
from India,
Yeah.
who was 6'10". Um, how did that feel? Having to play that position and trying to use your experience to gain some kind of advantage.
Yeah, well, I think that could be part of the reason why Chot chose me. You know, it's been my part of my career, well, at least the latter half, having to go against the big imports and box out these guys, and I've learned a lot from it, definitely. Um, you know, obviously, trying to stay in shape, trying to keep my body strong played a big part, but you know, when you play with guys, when you play years with guys like Jimmy Alapag, you learn quickly that height doesn't necessarily equate to might, and so you know, I've luckily for me, I've been able to be put in positions where I can learn to adjust and guard guards or guard centers, and um, like I said, coming into that window, I knew it wasn't going to be a long-standing thing, so I had to make sure I try to do what's needed from me. And I know Coach lacked some big bodies, and I'm like, whatever whatever you need from me, Coach. If I got to guard a 7'5" guy, whatever, I'll go in there and bang. And if I make myself look stupid, then it is what it is. But I mean, I'm the type of player that I'm gonna do whatever it takes. So it was a great experience, though, for sure.
I
Diane?
love the way I love the way he approaches the game and just the outlook of playing for the national team. It's just so wonderful. I guess 11 years absent from the national team. I saw that you said that Coach Chot could have chosen much younger players, but he chose you. So Coach Chot, can you tell us when you had to put your team together, what were some of the things that you that you expected from Kelly, and that's why you brought him in? And your
Well, the
thoughts
big
now
thing,
after.
yeah, the big thing for Kelly is his versatility. Like he said, he can guard 7-footers and he can guard guards, and in our scheme of things, that was very important. And the fact that he's already had international experience was an added bonus for us, especially with the kind of situation we were put ourselves in when we were given a team that had essentially five remaining players, and a couple of which had absolutely no experience, very little experience playing internationally. So it was very important for us to augment the present Gilas pool with players who already had experience internationally and who already knew what how we run things, who are already familiar playing under our system.
Right.
It still was difficult, but at least I think it shortened the learning curve.
Kelly, I wanted to ask you, playing with the younger guys like Dwight and 30 and all the newcomers, how was it for you and how different was it from the last time you were in the national team? And can you give us an idea of, like what the atmosphere was like going on amongst you? Because sabi nga ni Coach Chot, I mean, you only had 4 full practices together before the game.
Yeah, well, having played with Coach Chot in previous stints with the national team, obviously having played under Coach for our championship runs and even this past conference, it's been pretty consistent. You know, it's all about efficiency. Like Coach said, we had only a few days, but Coach has a way with just making sure what we do it efficiently, and it showed. Uh, One of the things that I said to the guys after the last loss was, considering the amount of time that we've had to prepare,
Mm-hmm.
and still the silver lining from the New Zealand game being that we could, the Philippines can definitely beat them, should be, something to look forward to for them and their growing program. But as far as the differences, so there wasn't much different for me. Like I said, personally, it, and as a team, it's about understanding the significance of the role that we're in, the position that we're in, and giving everything you have for it. And that's what I saw with that group of guys, the young guys, with, like you said, Dwight and 30 and all those guys. I feel like they started to understand the sense of urgency in the situation, and the gaining the sense of pride that comes with it, and the unique opportunity, considering the pandemic and everyone going through things around the world, we could be a light. And that was one of the things that Coach Shaw also shared with us in that time as well. Where we're in a position that people are looking at us, and we can bring hope, we can bring light to all the darkness that's happening around the world. And
Definitely.
yeah. So yeah, but there's not much you can do in 4 days of preparation, but I believe Coach and the staff really maximized it to make us competitive in this window. And I would have loved to have been able to play Korea twice, just to show, like Coach said, the haters and the people that are doubting, to look at the facts, look at the figures, look at how much time we had. Now look how effective we are as a team and as a unit. And sorry, this is long-winded, but one of the things I also said was, if anything, looking at these young guys, looking at this group, it should give everyone hope for what's to come for Philippine basketball. There's some great things coming. Like, again, bringing up guys like Dwight and 30, looking at the experience and how much they've grown as players from their Japanese or their Japan stint in playing. It definitely shows. So I'm excited to see how the program continues to evolve and where Coach takes it, because I know it's going to be nothing but great.
Well, Coach Chot, looking at the stats of both of our games against India and New Zealand, there were two departments where we were outscored. One was in transition, and we averaged only 5.5 fast break points in the series. And the second was points in the paint. Can you tell us a little bit what we could have done to turn things around, or why we were outscored, both points in the paint and in transition?
Well, points in the paint is easy to both are attributable to size, really. There is very little opportunity for us to score in the paint on traditional low post moves and such. Even in our penetrations, we will get our points from our ability to kick the ball out and get open looks from those opportunities. So the points in the paint, I'm not surprised that we don't that we really are scoring low there. We should have done a better job in fast break points, though, because of our speed. If you think about it, just logically, because of our speed, we should have a lot of opportunities to score on the fast break. However, if you dig deeper into the statistics and you look at the rebounding stats, you will see that we have rebounding problems, and that limited our fast break opportunities, and that led to the low fast break points. But we did have fast break opportunities. We had 12 steals against New Zealand. That was another bright spot. New Zealand only had 2 steals against us. So we should have been able to convert more on transition opportunities. And again, that boils down to just lack of consistently playing together, lack of knowing each other's tendencies, who likes to go where. You know how it is in the fast break, right, Kinito? You have to almost without looking, anong tawag natin sa Tagalog, nagkakaabuyan dapat di ba? Without looking, you know where people are going to be, and then you'll score easy layups. But we did not have that opportunity. I'll be the first to admit, hindi pa namin alam yung amoy ng isa't isa. We haven't gotten to that level yet because, again, and it's an off-used reason, but we really lack. 4 full practices is not enough because, I said, as short as 5 days before the game, Talk and Text was still playing, so we couldn't fully practice. The Gilas guys were practicing, but there were just like 6 or 7 of them. And we had to wait for the talk and text guys to finish, and then we finally were able to put a full team together at practice on February 20th. That was our very first practice as a full team. So that manifested in I think in the fast break opportunities. We still should have scored a lot more on fast breaks, to be very honest. But if you are going to ask me why, then that's the reason.
Well, Coach, I was also looking at the game against New Zealand stats wise. We missed 13 free throws. We missed
Yes.
20 3-point shots. And I was thinking, if we had made half of the missed free throws and even a third of the missed 3-point shots, we would have won the game.
We were
We would
we
have won
were
the game.
15 Yeah, we were 15 points down with 5 minutes remaining after missing 13 free throws. Imagine that, Kinito. We
Right.
were 15 down going to the last 5 minutes after missing 13 free throws. So, like I said, we were it was a lot closer than the score indicated.
Yeah. Leanne?
Yeah. Well, Coach, you did mention that there's a lot to look forward to, a lot of bright spots. And I wanted you to elaborate on coaching for the first time, as you said, guys like 30 and Dwight, who were the top scorers, of course. And then I think Bolik also your first time, right?
Yes.
And Ange Kouame. So what are your thoughts on them finally being able to really be on top of them on the court moving
Um,
forward?
for me as a coach, and Kelly will attest to this, it's all about building relationships, and that was for me an opportunity to build lasting, long, deep relationships with those guys. Because coaching them on the court is one thing, the technical basketball side, but I
Mm-hmm.
think truly to be a real team, we have to build those relationships, and that was the start, the opportunity. And after the game, after the New Zealand game, we exchanged some very personal text messages between myself and Dwight. Third and I saw each other even after the New Zealand game. So this is what I mean when the positives out of the whole experience was the beginning of the formation of these strong relationships, because these are the things that are going to be very important in our moving forward. The same depth of relationships we've developed with Jimmy, with Jason, with Mark Pinglis, with Kelly. I think that's very, very important in any team, in any coach player relationship. So that's the most important thing. And they're great. They're great players, but they're also great human beings. And I think that's very, very important.
Well, one thing that you guys have in common, I know 30's always super ready to play for the national team, and Dwight too. You saw how fast they came from Japan, right? When the call came. So I guess I think they either left today or back there
They left
again.
this morning. Yeah, this morning. Yeah.
How much do you think? Kenita and I were talking about earlier the way the game is played in the Japan B League, where they use the FIBA rules. How
Yeah.
how how important did that come into play with them doing so well in the two
I
games that you had?
Yeah, I thought that was huge. Just the experience internationally and playing the FIBA game, the FIBA rules. That was huge, and we've said that time and time again. Believe it or not, the PBA basketball is not the same as FIBA basketball. It's the same. You call it the same basketball, but it's a different animal altogether, and that really takes getting used to. And the fact that 30 and Dwight were consistently playing showed on the court. Conversely, somebody like Ange, for example, the last time he played was the Kings Cup in Jordan, and that was what, July or August last year, Kinito. So
Wow.
how difficult is it for a guy like Ange, who has not played an actual game in so many months, to suddenly be thrust to guard a 7-footer like Amrit Singh, and then to guard a Rob Lowe, who is taller, is the same height as he is, but has what, 7 years experience over him. Rob Lowe is 30 years old or something, so many years in the national team. That's so difficult for a young guy like Ange. But at least now he's gotten these 2 games under his belt after what, 5 or 6 months. So hopefully that gets Ange back to playing.
Coach Chot, here's a question from Aviation 27. It's flashing our screens. Coach Chot, is Caleb Harris going to play all the events until 2023?
We're bringing Calum in to jumpstart the under 18 program. We're looking
Oh.
at him and Lebron Lopez to be the mainstays of that program. Whether they will play in the events all the way to 2023, that remains to be seen. There's a lot of factors involved, for much of which is their schedules and their availability, because they have other commitments. But we want them to get into the swing of things very quickly, to train them together with the men's team as much as possible. And hopefully they can play if they're willing, if they can make it. Maybe they can play in the Southeast Asian games. Maybe they can play in the other windows. But as for being able to play in the World Cup in 2023, that remains to be seen as well, because there are no locks for 2023. That's still quite a ways out. So, but yeah, we're looking at him and LeBron to lead the youth. We're developing a program, right, Kinito? So we wanted to. We're developing plans for under 16, under 18
Mm.
cadets, the men's. So this is a long term thing that we're trying to put together.
Well, Diane raised a very good point about the familiarity with FIBA rules, or rather unfamiliarity with FIBA rules. I want to ask Kelly. Kelly, you played in international games before, but you know, having played so many games in the PBA and being away from the international scene, now being thrust into the international games again, playing under FIBA rules. I mean, there are major differences. The way the referees call those picks, any slight movement, no matter how insignificant, they'll blow that whistle. Um,
Yeah.
the possession arrows, and then the uh, the the minutes per quarter are different. The team foul limits are different. You foul out with 5 fouls instead of 6 in the pros. How big did that have an effect on your game playing against India and New Zealand? The FIBA rules.
Not so much on my game, to be quite honest.
Okay.
You know, playing the center in the PBA, you take the bumps, you take the hits. In FIBA and the international, you just take hits from bigger guys. That's pretty much it, and you get some. So there's a lot of pushing, a lot of grabbing, and if you play it right, and you might get a call from the ref or shoving from behind, or some sort of grabbing during the while rebounding or whatever, or boxing out rather. But other than that, for me, it wasn't much of an adjustment. Whereas before, say when I was a little more offensive minded, there were the bigger adjustments where like making sure you don't travel, catching on 1-2, or catching the ball on a jump stop and then dribbling instead of 1-2 and sweeping, where they'll call that a travel in FIBA. Stuff like that was a little more difficult to adjust to. But now, considering my position and how it's been in the PBA and what my role was with Gilas, wasn't too much of an adjustment.
Looking forward to future competitions, Kelly, who do you think would fit in really smoothly in Coach Chot's system? We're talking about bigs. Maybe Junmar Fajardo, maybe Japet Aguilar, Kai Sota perhaps. What do you think?
Right. It's hard to think or to see a Philippines team without a Junmar Fajardo, right? We definitely would love to have that big body there against guys like Rob Lowe and all these bigger guys. But I'd like to see Kai play. He's very versatile. Obviously, he's big. He can clog the middle, change shots, but he can also run and finish well. He has a good touch and a good shot. So, I don't know Kai personally, but I know with Coach Chot, much more than the talent and the tools. It's more about, like he said earlier, the relationship and having players that are willing to be coached, they're willing to learn and listen. And so it's more of I don't know if you call it character or what, but I think tools can be taught, talents can be taught, height can't be taught, but for me, if a guy's willing to learn, a guy's willing to listen and grow and all of that, then he has a good shot at pretty much anything.
Well, as we wind down this show, Diane, I wanted to ask Coach Chot again. There are about 8, if I'm not mistaken, competitions laid out before the 2023 World Cup. And that includes, I think, 4 more windows to play. 4 more windows to play. And then there's the Asia Cup, the 2 Southeast Asian Games, one this year and one next year, just before the World Cup. And then you've got the Asian Games. How do you think you'll be able to get your team together for all of these competitions, considering that the PBA will also have a schedule of perhaps 3 conferences and also playing in the EASL? We understand there's a 30-man pool that's been submitted. How do you see everything playing out, Coach Chot?
The only way we can make this work is with full cooperation of everyone concerned. And yesterday, Commissioner Willie Marshall assured me of the 100% cooperation of the PBA. And that's why the first step was the synchronization of schedules. I think that was very important. Next is to just continuously expanding the pool as much as possible, to have a lot of players at our disposal, to get players into the system, just at least to understand what we're trying to do, so that at different times we can feel the different combinations of people, different players, and we are not limiting ourselves to only 15 or 20 guys. So I'm a big believer in getting as big a pool as possible. And then a perfect example is what happened to Korea. They only put 15 names in the map, the FIBA map, right? So now when they had their problems with COVID, they were not able to fill the team. So I think that's a testament to the value of having a large enough pool. So that's the only way that I can see us getting through this schedule until the World Cup next year, with the full cooperation, having guys who are willing to be part of the pool without any assurance of making the final roster, and then just continuing to keep our eye on the prize. I think that's the most important thing. Let's keep our eye on the prize.
Diane, we've got a question here from
Yeah.
Paulo Catalin.
A question from Paulo. Wow, let's see if I can read it. Yeah, it says, Coach Chot, are LeBron Lopez, Will Navarro, Calvin Oftana, and Calum Harris candidates for the SEA Games team? We'll need to develop our wing positions.
Yes, definitely. Will they make the final lineup? That's another question. But are they candidates? Yes, definitely.
Yeah. Just to
Here's
follow
another
up on the question. Oh, yeah, go ahead. Is there another question?
Yeah, there's another one here.
Oh, yeah.
How is
How
Sky
is-
going to fit in Coach Chot's system? Do new plays need to be devised for him to be involved in the plays?
He'll fit in beautifully, and there is no such thing as a player who cannot fit in the system. Then there's a problem with the system if the player cannot fit into that, right? The
That's a
system
good
we
one.
develop is so agile, is so free flowing that anyone can. The only way you will not fit in the system is if you refuse to fit in the system. But there is no such thing as a player who cannot fit into the system that we're developing. And Kai's game, I think, will blend beautifully into it. His, like Kelly said, his versatility, ability to play inside, and the ability to step out to shoot the 3-point shot, the ability to run the floor and play defense. I think that's, and the one thing that's very underrated with Kai, he's a great passer. Remember, and all of those things that I just mentioned, you can replace the name Kai Soto with Kelly Williams. That's exactly what he brings for us, right? He can run the floor,
Yeah.
be an inside presence, play inside, outside, pass very well. So those are the things.
Here's another question from Errol Nash Felipe. Coach, pwede pa bang maglaro si Mikey Williams? And maybe to add to that, what about these Philams who may have their Philippine passports but got them after 16? Is there a possibility that those guys can play for us in the World Cup? Coach Chot.
Under the present FIBA rules, no. Under the present FIBA rules, but we all know of a lot of incidents in other countries where non-local born players who have their passports have suddenly who got their passports after 16 have been allowed to play. So I know there's efforts towards that, but as of now, no for the FIBA Asia tournaments. However, for the Sea Games changes rules depending on the host. So last time they were allowed in the last Asian Games, Phil-Ams were allowed. I don't know in the coming Asian Games. We still have to get clarity for the coming Sea Games. So I cannot answer that question at this point.
Okay.
Coach,
Diane?
I wanted to ask, talking about Philams, Jordan Clarkson, what can you let us know? I know there are like serious efforts to get him to play. I'm having, I remember the trouble it took to be able to get him to play in the Asian Games in Indonesia. So, is there anything you can share about him playing for the national team?
Yeah, I mean, there is no problem for Jordan Clarkson to play in the national team. The question is, will he play as a naturalized player or as a local player? So, like I said, there are efforts to lobby the FIBA to allow him to play as a local player and not as a naturalized player. So that's the one, and the other side is like you said, in the Asian Games, he was able to play because again, in these competitions, it depends on the host what kind of eligibility rules they will follow. So until we get the advice from the hosts of the Sea Games, the coming Asian Games, then I cannot answer that question for now.
So, are you comfortable that for the SEA Games you'll be able to have a solid team, prepare well, not yung nangyari ngayon now that you're in it and you already have a 2-year sort of calendar, SEA Games and then Asian Games,
Yes,
and then
that's why we went into the meetings right away, right after the New Zealand game. We met right away, precisely because we don't want what happened this last February and even in Philippine teams of the past to happen. That's why we built a program in 2018 called 23 for 23, right? There was supposed to be a 5-year program, but so much has happened in between. But now we are left with essentially 18 months or so before the World Cup, and we have to make sure that every day counts.
Well, we want to thank you very much, Coach Chot and Kelly, for joining us on this show, a live episode. But before we let you go, Kelly, some final words from you. What fans can expect from the machine gun? What still drives you to play the game as
yeah.
passionately as you do?
And how
Kelly.
do you stay in shape at 40?
Morning walks.
Morning walks.
No,
That's interesting.
no, yeah, it's just my mentality is always, well, has been the last several years just to keep myself active, and so that's what I try to encourage people. If anybody follows me on Instagram or Facebook, I try to encourage just to get active some way, keep your body moving. Obviously, if you watch, Coach Chot's, videos and reels, the shape that he's in, right now is amazing, and that's, for me, that's goals. So I just try to keep myself active, keep my mind active, keep my spirit filled, and maximize my what I have. When I was retired this past, over about a year ago or whatever, I really reflected, and when I realized, like, this game is still in me, and then I had the opportunity. Thank God for Chot coming back. I was like, I'm not gonna, this window is only open for so long, and obviously it's closed, it's slowly closing, and I realized that. But I tell you, until it fully closes, I'm gonna give everything I have for every moment that I get. So that's my mentality now.
That's very
So
inspiring.
nice to hear that.
And
I
Coach
love
Chot,
it.
your final message?
My final message is just please remember, let's not forget the big picture. We're training for FIBA World Cup in 2023. So to all those who are getting very disappointed, very upset, please, let's just all remember that's the goal, that's the objective. And again, my message has always been very consistent. We ask for your prayers. We ask for your support. We cannot promise anything except that nobody will work harder. And no one is more committed than the group that we have here. And it will take really the combined the prayers of 100 million Filipinos praying as one for us to come together and put in a real great showing in the next World Cup. That's all we ask. That's all we ask is their support and their prayers and all the hard work we're willing to put in. And we're doing it really for love of country. There's no other motivation. Kelly can attest to. There's no other vested interest in our hearts. We just really want to make our country proud.
All the countries behind you. Puso, as we
Yeah.
always
Thank you.
say.
Thank
Well,
you.
thank you to
Kenito.
both of you for giving your 100%. Kelly, I just love your drive and your love for country. And Chot, I know your passion is like still at 110%, and that's why we love you and thank you. And we have no doubt that it's going to be a very successful team this year and next year and down the road. Thanks for being on Play It Right TV.
Thanks
Hope to
again,
talk
guys.
to you
both.
again.
Thank you.
both.
Thank you, Kelly.
More
Thank you, Coach
power.
Chot. And that ends another episode live on Play It Right TV. And Diane, we couldn't ask anything more. Coach Chot bared his heart. I thought that Coach Chot felt a little sad because of the haters and the bashers and the detractors, but that's the way it is. I think he's learned to roll with the punches. There's still a lot of work to be done ahead, and he's not going to be dragged back into the quagmire of anything. He's looking forward, and we're all hoping, we're praying that the Philippines will be super competitive in 2023 when we host the World Cup.
Well, I think considering the short time preparation, team sport, I mean, getting players from here, there, and everywhere, I think it was quite good. And of course, we understand the disappointment of the super passionate Filipino fans, but I mean, I think we need to thank Chot and Kelly and everybody who played in the team for being available, giving it their best shot. I mean, they could have lost both games. It could have been, it could have been bad. I mean, look at Korea; they weren't even able to play. So I think there's still a lot of positives, and I think only good things are in store because, as we can see, everybody in the basketball community seems to be committed to working together, synchronizing schedules, making themselves available to play. So that's all you can ask. And we hope
Yeah,
that,
we
we will
also wanna
continue to
thank,
support them.
we also want to thank our sponsors. Diane, Sonak has always been behind us, and distributor of Asics, Mikasa, Molten, the top brands. And Diane, can you take us through this?
Well, if you are looking for good equipment, whether you're in sports just for the fun of it or you're competitive, playitright.com has a lot of stuff for you. Please check them out. High quality stuff at great prices. That's playitright.com, and they make this show possible. So thank
And
you
Diane,
very much.
Diane, I just saw on playit.com and also on the Instagram account of Play It Right that they're having like a special sale on shoes, 40% off, and they're Asics shoes. They're fantastic shoes. So
Asics shoes are the best for running, for tennis, of course, basketball, all sports. I think they're as you know, Kinito, you and I were in the Asics headquarters in Tokyo in the last Olympics, and you see all the science and technology that they put, and over the years they've just gotten better and better, both performance wise and style wise. Really
Yep.
nice colors. So that's Asics.
So again, we want to thank you very much for staying with us. And here at Play It Right TV, we try to bring you insights. We try to educate the fans. We try to educate ourselves so that we are better appreciative of sports in general, and especially our athletes. Thanks very much for joining us. Diane?
Please like, share, and subscribe to our channel, Play It Right TV. and follow us on all our social media accounts. I'm Diane Castillejo. We'll see you
Benito
next
Hanson.
time on Play It
Bye.
Right. Thanks, Chot and Kel.